Hi YouTube, this is Jilly. Hi, my name is Jilly. I'm a spiritual and meditative artist and I draw every day. And I also love to paint. So I have been painting every day recently and I've been showing now how I do a painting. This is just one of the ways that I do a painting. There have been certain times that I've gone for it with complete and utter verve and absolutely no plan and just started putting paint on the canvas and saw where it went. Lots of times it didn't work out, but I'd make it into something anyway. And this bee painting, I've been showing how I do drawing with ballpoint pen on a canvas. And then I found a bunch of my sketches. And so I thought what I would do is, because I've studied certain types of bees and bees so that I can draw them and know like what their bodies look like, what their wings look like, how many tentacles they have, where their eye placement is. So when I go to paint it, I know where I like putting certain things on a bee. And so one of the things I wanted to show today is I dabbled a little bit with this painting last night after I did my video. And what ended up happening was I've been using what I call coffee ink. I make like an ink out of coffee and water. And last time I used real coffee to make it, freshly brewed coffee. But what ended up happening is it dried a little bit last night and it made kind of like this archy halo. And I didn't plan that, but I really like it because when I was doing this yesterday, I thought I like kind of like the lighter color around the crown, because the crown is what I really wanted to stick out. And then on the bottom, the coffee isn't even as dark as I want it to be. I want to go back in with that, but I had add little touches of permanent rose, which is a color that my mentor has highly suggested using in a painting because it brings out a lot in a painting. The color is very favorable to the eye, I guess you would call it. So it kind of creates more depth and makes the painting pop. But today I want to show one of my methods for doing something that's a little bit more fine-tuned, because this has really been very loose and it has a structure to it, but in a lot of ways I've slowly built up and kind of done things that maybe have magically turned out not to be what I planned, but that I've actually fallen in love with. So what I've done here today is I've taken out a watercolor pencil. It's kind of an aqua-ish blue, and I'm going to go in on the gem on the crown. So I'm giving it a little bit of like a blue back color. And I wanted this particular gem to kind of stick out. Now look at that, just even that little sense of kind of this aqua-ish blue into the painting, how it kind of plays off of this pink color on the bottom. So there can be, you know, the eye can bounce back and forth from color to color. And the opposite color of blue is orange, but this is a pink. So the red and the blue are kind of within the same family sometimes. If you look at a color wheel, you can see what I mean. So this blue, I'm going in with my watercolor pencil, and I've used several different types of watercolor pencils. And this was actually, these were a gift from someone, I would say probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm still using the set that they sent to me. I just love them. And so I have a nice little sharpener, and I've done many sketches using these particular watercolor pencils. Like I said, I can't remember the name. I must have thrown the box out years ago. But I think that this can give you just an idea of what a little pop of color can do, just to kind of start out getting that color in, maybe even for somebody who's a newer painter, where you want to place something. Does this look good to me? Can I paint over it? Can I remove it with a little bit of water? Because these watercolor pencils, once you use them and you put water to it, it completely changes the the way that it adheres to the canvas and the brightness of the color. So look at that, just a quick little dab of a watercolor pencil. I made these 3 little gems very light because I really want this to stick out. I squeezed out a little bit of, let's see what color this is. I'm kind of doing some mixing on the canvas. I've always really liked that. So this is crimson, okay? Crimson watercolor. What a beautiful, beautiful color. So I put a little dab of it in a bowl, and I took out my favorite little pointed brush, and I'm just dabbing my brush into the crimson paint. Sometimes if I have a piece of paper next to what I'm painting, I'll dab off a little bit of the paint on the side just so I don't have so much paint, because this is going to be very light. So think of how a gemstone has different sides to it, that you look into a gemstone, right? So I'm kind of going up and down. I'll let the eye kind of jump around a little bit. I was even thinking I've used like clear Elmer's glue. I've used glittery paint. I've used nail polish. All kinds of stuff on my paintings to give things dimension and shine. But that's just kind of a build-up. Now look how that color kind of muted that blue, okay? And that's not really what I wanted, but that's okay. So that's why I'm teaching on video, so that you can see what happens. Now what is happening is the paint is kind of melding in with the pencil, and the watercolor pencil is kind of going into the paint and creating kind of a purpley color. So I'll take some paint back off of that little dab that I did over there. And I find with these watercolor paints that a little goes a long way, like a really long way, okay? So I just use like a dab. So here we are. I want to keep that so it's going up straight too. I do not want it to be crooked. But okay, so here we go. A little water brings it all to life. And there have been times that I've done paint removal stuff too, where I've dabbed onto what I'm painting with a tissue or whatever I can get my hands on. And I've taken off some of the color. I have a very old tissue here, okay? So it has a lot of paint on it, so I'm just gonna dab into that. Now look what happened. It created a little change of color. So look where that blue watercolor pencil deposited so much color into that background. It's all about, in lots of ways with watercolor, I'm learning too, the way I use it is the background of what you're painting creates so much within the painting. So doing that little gemstone might take a little bit longer than I thought. And I think what I'll do is I'll let it dry a little bit, and then I'll go back in. Another thing I do is I'll take the end of the paintbrush and I'll kind of go over corners. Now see how that line kind of got created? Because if I want to make it a gemstone, it's going to have a bit of a reflection to it. So I might add in like a little touch of white in there on the top to give it a little bit of a reflection. But it's just more or less just trying different things, seeing what it looks like. Do I like it? Do I not like it? Do I want to scrape it down and start again? It's your painting. You do it the way you want to do it. But I got into doing more abstract scraping of canvases. I have 2 palette knives. One of them I've had since I was in my 20s. I've had it for many, many years. and I was just gifted a small palette knife. So actually I might try that out on this painting a little bit. Maybe I'll use it on the top of the canvas, and I'll add some white to the top of this picture to add some different dimension to it. But even though this is a small canvas, it's 5 by 7, you can create a lot of activity and action in a very small area. If you look at very small paintings that people have done over the years, famous artists, you can see things that they've fit into very small, tiny little paintings. So you can create kind of an energy even in a small canvas. So, and this is slowly coming along, but you can see how that purple is. It's not the best purple that I wanted. It's not exactly what I want, but it's going to come along. That's one thing I've been teaching with my painting is don't give up, keep going. That's where I think a lot of people, when they start painting, they do it and they look at it and they think, oh, it's not what I want, or I can't do it, or it's too hard, or it's not what I envisioned. But it's really half of the battle for me that I've learned is keep going, keep on it, keep painting, keep trying. So you mess up, so you can fix it usually. I've had a few paintings I haven't been able to fix. Speaking of that, I am going to be sanding down. I bought some sandpaper. I bought green 120, a fresh new piece of sandpaper, okay? And I'll take the safety precautions. I'll wear glasses and gloves and be in a ventilated area. But I'm going to sand down the canvas that I bought the other day from a thrift shop. And it's a legit, really nice canvas, actually. I flipped it over on the back, and it's very good quality. But it's a big canvas. It was red and black. Beautiful, really, really gorgeous red color. So I'm going to sand that down, possibly outside, and maybe I'll show people how I'm doing it. And then I've had in mind a little bit what I might want to do on that canvas. But lots of times I have absolutely no idea. So if the red that's on the painting has absorbed so much into the canvas, I might keep the red theme of that canvas, because sometimes the deposit of a certain color, because the canvas is cloth, basically it's tightly woven cloth with gesso over it, or a medium that's put on it that holds the paint on it too. So I'm going to have to look and see, kind of like in his experiment, like my discovery with this repurposed canvas. So I'll show that too. But see everybody, I made a little mistake. So there's a little whoop here of purple, and that's okay. That's okay. I'll clean that up a little bit and maybe work it into the painting. And it's just fun to do this. And thank you everybody who's been watching. And it's great to show little things that maybe possibly don't go 100% right, to maybe give somebody a little bit of enthusiasm if they want to try something. Because no, it's not always going to be perfect, but you can just keep working it out and go through it. And watercolors can also be very forgiving too, because you can just kind of dab it off. One thing that I like to do is keep brushes next to me in some water and some tissues. And then see, this brush is a nice angle. So I've done this before with paintings, and I just go in with a little, see how easy that was? Gosh, I couldn't have planned that better, okay? So I'm just going in with this brush with a little water on it, and I'm wiping it in between, and see how all of a sudden there's less and less of it. Okay, so there are ways to do it. You can find, I always say somebody comes up with a better solution than me. So there can be ways that people can figure stuff out. But sometimes what I'm finding too when that happens is it will deposit a little bit of color around what I'm painting, and it gives it more depth in a way. So it's not really the worst thing to have that happen. And then I'll dab, kind of go around the painting. Use your intuition and just brighten that up and see how that's all kind of coming together. Now that's what I wanted. That's the color. That's what I wanted out of the painting. So right on camera, I'm getting what I wanted, okay? And that's so wonderful to have that happen. So, you know, you can't make these things happen. And I'm going to start videoing because yesterday my phone shut off when I went too long. So look at that. It's coming together. It's really happening. So I hope somebody's trying this. And have a great day. And love, love, Jilly.